Hey, community, welcome to Behind the Message. My name is Sharie Benhke. I'm part of the team at our Naperville location. I'm joined by our co-founding pastor, Dave Ferguson, for week one of Finding Financial Freedom. So thanks so much for joining us. And the first question I have for you is I'm going to jump right in.
Sure.
Because this is kind of maybe a response that I hear from some people is, why do we always talk about money?
Why do we always talk about money?
I know that's kind of a loaded question, but.
Well, first of all, I would say we don't always talk about money. But I would say we hit it probably at least once a year.
Yeah.
And part of that, I mean, it's fascinating. If you actually take a look at the different topics that Jesus addressed in the Gospels, I mean, he talks a lot more about money than he does, I mean, way more. I couldn't give you the stats on it right now, but way more on money than he does like heaven and hell.
Yeah.
So part of the reason we talk about it is because Jesus talked about it. And I think part of the reason Jesus talked about it is because he knows it's a big deal to us. And I think anybody who doesn't think money's a big deal, as far as its influence in your life, I mean, you're in denial. Because either if we don't get a handle, I think, on it, then we can, like we talked about in the message, you end up pursuing it and lots of things, anxiety, stress, ingratitude, those kind of things show up in your life. But if you get it figured out, I mean, it's one of those things it could be a source of happiness, and even, I mean, generosity, all kinds of great things can happen. So, yeah, if I came off across a little defensive, that's okay.
No.
Because I don't think we talk about it all the time, but I do think we need to talk about it.
Sure.
And I know there are people who influenced me early in my young adult life, and I'm on the topic of financial freedom, and I'm super grateful for it.
Yeah. And you mentioned Jesus talked about it a lot in Scripture, which
Absolutely.
is why we talk about it. And so it must have been a challenge back then, this insatiable desire for more, and we continue to have this culture for more. What do you think is driving that? Like, where does that even come from?
I think there's inner forces, and I think there's external forces. I think there are inner forces too, where somehow that becomes part of our identity. It becomes a part of our self-worth, our self-esteem, whatever clothes we wear, our car we drive, our house we live in, or things that we're able to surround ourselves with. But the other force, which probably is greater than ever before, is just the marketing. I mean, literally there are billions and billions of dollars being spent right this moment trying to get us, to buy this particular brand, to take vacation in this particular place, to drive this certain vehicle. Yeah. And so there's a lot going on, both internally and externally, that are pushing us to say, oh, more.
Yeah. Just Google vacation and see what shows up on your social media feeds,
Google
right?
Google a place.
Yeah.
Door County or Florence, Italy, and watch your feed just fill up.
Definitely. So one thing that you mentioned is you were part of the Crappy Car Club.
Yeah.
And but I know there's areas in each of our lives, my life included, where conformity really has a pull on me. Is there an area of your life where you're like, okay, maybe it's not cars, but there is another area that you kind of have to pay attention to?
Well, I mentioned the thing with the car because I used to be a part of the Crappy Car Club, and now I'm not. I actually
so it does have those.
So I lease, and I mentioned that in the talk. I kind of leased a car, and so all of a sudden I noticed that the kind of peace I had from not playing that. I don't know if this is entirely true, but part of it that could be a temptation, I think, is also clothes. Mm-hmm. So like Alex over there, hello, Alec. Hey. So like I show up to shoot a video like this, and Alex says, hey, you really need to get Stitch Fix. We got to do something about that,
yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so there's a part of me goes like, oh, maybe I need to up my game on what I wear, And so part of it is because when you're in front of a camera, you want your appearance to not be bad, distracting.
Yeah.
You're going to focus on the message, but you can also go like, oh, am I cool? Am I hip? Does this work? And so I think that could be one for sure.
Okay.
And what's the sweet spot in that?
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I would hope that, I think clothes aren't a draw on me, but man, the clothes had the hook on me for a while. Yeah. That's for sure, which is why I'm hesitant to do like Stitch Fix or something like that, because I feel like I could get caught up in that if I wanted to, I guess.
And for anybody who doesn't know, Stitch Fix is this deal where
We advertise for Stitch Fix.
I think like once a month,
Yeah.
they will send you a box of clothes, and you can either, and they'll try to actually, they'll become like your designer or something.
Yeah. And usually whenever I compliment a friend on an outfit, they're like, oh, I got it from Stitch Fix.
Oh,
so
seriously?
it is like,
So it works.
yeah, it definitely works.
So Alec knows.
That's for sure. Okay, so you left us with some challenges at the end. You kind of gave us 3 challenges and said pick one, and that was calling out conforming,
Yep.
cut back on consumption,
Yep.
or cleaning out the clutter.
Yeah.
So which challenge speaks to you? You think you're going to kind of hit?
I think all 3 are relevant, but I think the one for me that if I was going like, oh yeah, which one do you need to do today? It's cleaning out the clutter. Mm-hmm. I talked about in the talk, kind of a book hoarder. I mean, if you go into our basement, I mean, it's a pretty large basement. I mean, like there's a whole wall of like 5 floor to ceiling bookshelves just filled with books. Mm-hmm. And then we also have bookshelves. Then we have bookshelves in other rooms.
Oh, wow.
And then we got boxes of books. So yeah, it needs to end.
Yeah. I'm glad my Audible isn't on my wall because my walls would probably look like that too.
That's kind of the absurdity of it because, I mean, by far the majority of those books are books that I got definitely more than 5, maybe more than 10 years ago.
Okay.
And like almost everything I do is digital or online. And so it's like, and I even find I listen to more podcasts than I actually do reading lately. So yeah, it's absurd.
Very cool. So invariably, we always run out of time in these messages. You're kind of conformed to the time limit here. Is there anything that was kind of left on the cutting room floor where you're like, man, I wish I had time. I probably would have said that, or maybe something else that you would want to say to the folks?
I think I would have. I mean, I know one of our takeaways was our online, like the 3-week online budgeting course. Mm-hmm. But I would say particularly, for anybody who finds themselves who they've overextended themselves and they're just they can't get it figured out, how do I live within my means? But I would say particularly for anybody, 35 and under, especially if you're newly married, it's a huge source of fighting. It's one of like the first 7 years of marriage. Conflict over money is the number one cause of fighting. And if you can get that figured out, I think I would have hit that even harder. Sue and I were married. Wow, we were probably married. It was probably less than 5 years. And there was a couple in our church, Jack and Penny, and he'd done very well. He had his own company and stuff. He kind of took me under his wing, and we were not saving any money. We had a little bit of credit card debt. Basically, we weren't saving anything. Mm-hmm. And he took me aside and really just basically showed me how to budget, how to save. I know it sounds easy, but I mean, until you have to actually step through it. And actually, he even went a step further. He said, here's what I want to do, Dave. I'm going to give you and put into your saving account $50 every month.
Oh, wow. He was going to.
Yeah, just because I want you to experience that.
Yeah.
And then, next year when we do this, we're going to actually budget so you can do that. And so for a year, he put $50 into my savings account and helped us do that. And I mean, with the role that I have as lead pastor and some other things I do, there's lots of things I have taken up space in my head. It is so nice. I can't tell you how it is so nice and freeing.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not because I make a ton of money, but Sue and I, we never spend more than we bring in. So I don't even have to think about it. Mm-hmm. It's just, I mean, until you asked me the question, I hadn't even really processed going like, wow, if I had to worry about that too.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
It just feels exhausting.
Yeah.
So I think if you're asked, I would hit that even harder.
Okay.
And I think particularly for if that's the situation you're in, or you're in a younger season of life too, man, huge help.
And it's not too late. I mean, you can sign up for any age or wherever you're at for that budgeting course. Very cool. Well, thanks for answering my questions. Even in the hot seat on financial information can kind of feel that way. So thanks for answering my questions. We're going to continue the series, Finding Financial Freedom. So this is the first week of a 3-week series. So we hope you continue to join us. For additional information like the budgeting course that Dave talked about, you can find us at communitychristian.info. Have a great week, guys. Bye.
So, Dave, do you have just regular old Stitch Fix, or do you have Stitch Fix Premium?
What?
Is there a premium?
There's a premium?
No, but I gotcha. See?
Oh my
See,
goodness.
you always want more. Oh, wait.